It's a Red Sox Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. We got a whole sort of mishmash of Red Sox stuff we're going to talk about in today's video because we had an incredible game last night with some incredible moments that we absolutely, I think, need to talk about, right? Or at least gush over for a little bit. Plus, we also got a move yesterday that kind of sucks on the surface, but also is a good thing for the Red Sox, which makes it a really strange move for this Red Sox team. And I honestly have no idea where we're going to start. But I think the right place to start is with yesterday's game. Because if you missed last night's Red Sox game, you missed some absolutely incredible moments for this Red Sox team. And it's not just Roman Anthony, right? Cooper Chrisell is the first one I want to talk about because in this game, Cooper Chrisell came in and went toe-to-toe with Hunter Brown, who has the 5th best ERA in the entire AL, and matched him. He went 7 innings, allowed 7 hits, but only 1 run scored on 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. I don't think any of us were expecting this kind of start from Cooper Chrisell, right? The Red Sox, they just optioned Richard Fitts down to AAA. They didn't really have a 5th starter there. You just got Dustin May, but he hasn't been active. You put the ball into Cooper Chriswell's hand. You said, look, just keep us in this ball game and we'll be all right. But instead, he goes out there and he absolutely dominates. Now, Cooper Chrisell on the surface hasn't exactly been a fantastic reliever for the Red Sox, right? This season, he's had his troubles. Last season, he's had his troubles. But as a starter in Major League Baseball, Cooper Chrisell has actually been really solid. Last season, he made 18 starts and had a sub-4 ERA. This season, obviously, he's only gotten 1 start, and it was 7 innings of 1-run baseball. I don't know what happens when Cooper Chrisell gets the ball to start games, but it's usually good things for this Red Sox team. Again, I don't think anyone was expecting this good of things to happen, though. So shout out Cooper Chrisell because the Red Sox, they don't get into the position they did in the bottom of the 10th inning if Cooper Chrisell is not with this baseball team. Dustin May is scheduled to join this Red Sox team at some point in the near future, and it's most likely going to be in Cooper Chriswell's spot. I kind of hate that, right? Chrisell has been proven that he's solid in the rotation, so we'll see what sort of roster moves come from that, but that's in the future. Right now, let's just celebrate what Chrisell did. However, the spotlight of last night, and the real reason we're talking about this game is because of Roman Anthony, who's really starting to bud into a superstar right before our eyes, because in the bottom of the 10th inning, a runner on third base, well, really winning run on third base. There were 2 runners on base. Doesn't really matter. Roman Anthony steps up to the plate. He has a 6-pitch at-bat and ends with a 99.2 mile an hour dead center single, which probably would have been a double had it not been the bottom of the 10th inning and the winning run on third base, but that doesn't matter to win the Red Sox their game. And a game they really had absolutely no business winning in the first place. This kid is, like I said, just flat out blossoming into a star. After last night's game, he is now up to a 283 average, a 401 on base percentage, and a 428 slug for an 829 OPS and a 132 OPS plus, 32% above league average production. And that's before we're starting to see the home run potential come to fruition with Roman Anthony, right? We saw that a lot in minor league baseball where he'd hit like 500-foot grand slams or whatever it is. We haven't seen that much at the major league level, but what he is doing is being a pretty much model leadoff man for the Red Sox, right? An over 400 on base percentage. He's hitting doubles. He's hitting hard singles. He's getting on base for the guys behind him, which is exactly his role right now on this Red Sox team. Once that home run power starts to kick in, we're talking about one of the better hitters in Major League Baseball, right? Already, he's 30% above league average when it comes to hitting. He's going to get a whole lot better than that, I have a feeling, right? It's just this kid was born for this type of moment. I don't know if he doesn't have a heartbeat. I don't know if he has ice in his veins, but you could pretty much tell the second he got up to the plate there that the game was over, and that's the kind of person Roman Anthony has developed into just a couple months into his Major League career. I'm incredibly excited to see what this guy's going to do over the future next few years for the Red Sox. Once he gets into his statistical prime, he could be an absolute monster in Major League Baseball. He's already a star for the Boston Red Sox. Hey, Red Sox, I'm begging you, please, can you release some Roman Anthony green jerseys? I will buy like 100 of them. Okay, now that I got the Roman Anthony glazing out of the way, we also have to talk about the move the Red Sox made yesterday and what kind of impact it's going to have on this team. Because while the deadline wasn't exactly fantastic, if you were a Red Sox fan, they came out with essentially nobody they really wanted to come out with here. They pretty much admittedly said we couldn't get the job done and we're going to figure it out with the guys that we have. Regardless, they did come out of it with a couple of players, and what that means is obviously you got to find a way to fit these players on the Major League roster. Well, the very first one we got from the Boston Red Sox was to add the reliever, Steven Matz, that they picked up during this deadline. And to do that, the Red Sox optioned before yesterday's game Bernardino down to AAA baseball. And the reason I say this move kind of sucks is because Bernie has been really, really good for the Red Sox lately. In his last 11 games, or 15 innings, whichever way you want to put it, he has not allowed a single earned run while striking out 10 and walking 5. Recently, he's been a really reliable arm for the Red Sox out of the bullpen, and honestly, didn't really deserve to be optioned down to AAA for him, right? It's kind of like, hey man, you've been absolutely killing it in Major League Baseball, and we really appreciate you being here, and so to reward you for it, we're going to take you out of Major League Baseball, and we're going to put you down to minor league baseball, right? Doesn't seem totally fair, if we're being honest, right? I feel bad for Bernie. He's a guy who's been here almost every single day, it feels like, right? It feels like every game, starting pitcher comes out of the game, and here comes Bernardino, or, hey, you know, a guy gets a couple of players on base, and you got a lefty coming up, here comes Bernardino. What was his nickname? Everyday Bernie or whatever, right? So to have that guy kind of just be the dude that ends up getting sent down kind of sucks, but it's also not incredibly surprising if you're a Red Sox fan. We kind of knew that there was pretty much no way the Red Sox were going to end up going with 5 different lefties in the bullpen. You weren't going to option Aroldis Chapman, obviously, right? You can't option Justin Wilson either, so it was either going to be Brennan Bernardino or Chris Murphy. The Red Sox made their decision. I am curious as to whether or not the amount of innings that Bernie has pitched plays a role in this, right? I'm curious to see how often he's used in AAA baseball. If it's more so just hey, we're just going to keep you warm down here, right? We're going to give you some rest, make sure you're good to go for the back end of the season, right? When rosters expand, is this somebody who's going to immediately come up and take a spot here? I would imagine he's probably going to be first in line for anything that happens, right? This is not the last we're going to see of Brennan Bernardino, but ultimately I just kind of feel bad for him, right? He didn't deserve to be demoted down to AAA, but for the Red Sox, this is kind of a good thing, right? And I know that sounds crazy because they're losing a pretty solid bullpen arm, but what they've done here is they've really developed, or not really developed, they've acquired too much depth in a bullpen. And I said this a couple of times over the last few months, and I'll continue to say it, too much depth in a bullpen is enough depth in a bullpen at the Major League level, because you never know what's going to happen in a bullpen, right? Guys are so cyclical out there. There could be 2 weeks where Chris Murphy just completely loses feel for his curveball and is essentially rendered useless out of the bullpen for the Red Sox. Or you could have a guy who, you know, his arm gets a little heavy and you got to sit him down for a couple of weeks just simply to get himself back on his feet. Or maybe you got a guy who just simply can't find the strike zone anymore, right? And all of a sudden you're down an arm in the bullpen. Having too much depth is actually a really good thing because you're always able to sort of limit the damage that any of those things cause. And I promise you, those things are going to pop up at some point throughout the rest of the year. Being able to say, okay, you know, Chris Murphy's curveball isn't working, or Greg Weiser needs a couple of days rest, or whatever. Let's call up Brennan Bernardino, who's not only been solid and has a sub-4 ERA on the year, but in his last 10 appearances at the big league level, he was a lights-out pitcher, right? That's a really good place for a bullpen to be in. So while, yes, it sucks that the Red Sox ended up having to option this guy, at the end of the day, I do think it's ultimately a good thing for the Red Sox. Maybe not the fact that he's in AAA, but the fact that they were able to build out this depth that really sort of creates this just long line of reliable names that you can plug in this bullpen, especially from the left-hand side, right? That's kind of a rarity. You don't really see a ton of bullpens in Major League Baseball have all of these options from the left-hand side. Now, what's interesting is Steven Matz, he doesn't have any sort of options or anything like that, so you can't just send him down to AAA if things go poorly. You're going to have to end up DFAing him, and I'm curious to see how long of a leash Steven Matz has with this Red Sox team. But what the other thing this did for the Red Sox is also kind of defining what role Steven Matz is going to be in at the Major League level. In fact, we did get an exact quote from Craig Breslow that does mention pretty much exactly what kind of role Steven Matz is going to be in with this big league club, and this was directly after the trade deadline. Quote, he served multiple roles in the big leagues, but it seems like out of the pen, the stuff is ticked up. He's really got a good fastball that plays to both sides. He's a great strike thrower, has been in kind of pressure situations before, so we feel like he's someone that Alex can call upon in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning and get really big outs for us. And if you kind of look at what he's done out of the pen, he's been really, really good. Kind of interesting to sort of put it as, hey, this is going to be a guy who's going to come into late innings for the Red Sox, but it's very rare that you have, a guy come in the 4th or 5th inning, right? Obviously, you'd hope that you only use your bullpen in the later innings of games, but you do already have Justin Wilson as sort of that high leverage left-handed arm, right? That guy who's going to come in the 8th inning and try and get you to a Aroldis Chapman. So I'm really curious to see as to how specifically Steven Matz is going to end up being used in this bullpen. My guess is obviously when you option Brennan Bernardino down, he's probably going to take that role where it's sort of a jack of all trades bullpen arm. We've seen Bernie in pretty much every situation so far this year, right? We've seen him come into a 5th inning to simply stop the bleeding and get the Red Sox back up to the plate a little bit. We've seen him come into the 7th inning in a clean inning where you need to get to your setup man, and there's a couple of lefties at the bottom of the order coming up, right? You've seen Bernie come into situations where, hey man, there's a guy on 1st and 2nd, Alcala or Hicks or Weisert or whoever wasn't able to get the job done. There's 2 outs here. We have a lefty coming up, a tough lefty. We need to get an out so we can keep this lead or keep the game tied or keep the game closer, whatever. We're going to Bernie. I would imagine that's probably also the area that we're going to see Steven Matz in a lot. That's sort of, okay, any situation where you need a lefty specialist, that's the guy you're going to go to. And obviously, lefty specialist isn't really a thing anymore because you have to get 3 outs or end an inning for you to be able to take it out. So it's not like you can come in and just face the lefties and then get taken out of a game, but that's sort of the hybrid role you're going to put him into, right? As many lefties as humanly possible that Steven Matz can face is exactly where you're going to see him the most, whether that's a clean inning, whether that be a couple of runners on, or whether that be to close out a game that you're winning by 3 or 4 runs. And again, that's exactly what Bernie did, so it's probably the role we're going to see Steven Matz in. Now, I can't really sit here and complain or praise this move by the Boston Red Sox because we just simply don't know how Steven Matz is going to look in this Red Sox bullpen, right? We just simply don't know, and there's no use in complaining about something until we've actually seen it occur, right? I could sit here and say that maybe I would have trusted Bernie more in the bullpen than I would have a Steven Matz, but we're simply not going to know that until Steven Matz actually starts throwing some baseballs, and he's had a pretty solid season with the St. Louis Cardinals, so I'm willing to give this a chance, right? I'm willing to sit here and say, okay, if Steven Matz can match Brennan Bernardino's productivity over his season so far, and we can sort of sit here and say now we've got 2 Bernies, which is absolutely fantastic, right? Everyday Matz and everyday Bernie. Then all of a sudden, again, you go back to, oh my God, this is now an incredibly deep bullpen. And the Red Sox, they set themselves up. A deep bullpen not only helps you win games, it specifically helps you win series. And more importantly, it helps you win playoff series, right? A deep bullpen, a reliably deep bullpen, multiple guys that you can go to in similar situations, gives you options, gives you an ability to not overexpose guys in a playoff series. Like, this is what you want from a playoff team. Now, obviously, the Red Sox still have to get there, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'm just saying in terms of why this is good for the Red Sox, deep bullpens win you games, it wins you series, and ultimately it wins you playoff series. So I'm really hoping that this ends up working out well with Steven Matz, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to wait and see, right? We're going to have to sit here and we're going to have to talk about it in hypotheticals until it actually comes to fruition. So I'm willing to let this all play out until we see ultimately what this ends up happening. But again, I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Brennan Bernardino, right? I think we're going to see him pretty quickly here at some point in the season, either by the end of August or early September. We will for sure see him back in a Red Sox uniform. So while I do feel bad for Bernie, again, ultimately, I do think this is a good thing for this Red Sox team. But overall, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of last night's game. Let me know what you think about Roman Anthony. I'm thoroughly convinced this dude is going to be a star by the end of next year, but maybe I'm wrong, so let me know. And let me know what you think about the Red Sox roster move. It was a tough move for the Red Sox to make, but ultimately, I think it makes them overall a better team, at least on paper at this current moment. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. As always, don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.